Welcome to the Shade Tree Garage. This is going to be a relatively short video. I want to give you guys an update on where things stand with my 1956 Plymouth. It seems like I've spent a lot of time in the garage of late, but not a lot of time working on the Plymouth. So, here we go. There's no rust apparent in the rear quarter panel up until you get down here. And then it's got the same problem it does on the other side. The roof is okay, and the door, you can see that there was rust where the trim was, and the clips actually started some of the rust in a few spots there. The rest of them just need to be cleaned up. On the front fender, I used vinegar water to neutralize the surface rust I uncovered from the trim there. All right, let's see. And let's see, we still have the car raised up on the quick check. Now you can see this corner here and the lower corner of the door here, we had the same sort of rust popping up or penetrating the panel as we do on the other side. And that's because of the way the door is made. Well, we have rust on both lower corners, just like the driver's side. And that rust is there because when they crimp the door skin to the door shell, it creates a pocket where moisture or anything can't drain from, because the drain holes are actually lower, and the way the door corners are crimped with the door skin, there's no way for moisture to escape. So it just sits there, and so it's obviously the source of the rust. All right, now let's go on around, if I can do this without tripping and falling. Let's see, the shop's kind of a mess. I need to get the bumpers off, the bumper and the grill bar off. I've already got the headlight doors off. All right, this fender, again, strip the chrome off and address the surface rust with vinegar water. Now up here, I have the antenna mounting hole, and you can see surface rust there. I haven't treated it with anything yet. Now further down here, you can see a rust hole, and I haven't really been able to tell if there's any rust at the very, very bottom. They kind of took a ball peen hammer to the bottom of that and filled it with the body filler. Now here's a better look at the rust in the door. It's not substantial, but I'm probably going to have to cut out a piece of metal at least half as wide as what I have there. Now you can see here the way the original black and white paint, how the black was masked, or the white was masked, whichever came first. And that's kind of interesting. You can see it over here too on this one, how the paint went around the white, and you can kind of see it up here on this one too. Anyway, probably minutia you'll never need. All right, now this is where the rust is. You can see it popping through all through there, and I need to cut that out and put real probably 20 or 22 gauge, and probably cut above that line all the way across from the wheel well to the door jamb. All right, now I haven't found any evidence of rust in the lower quarter. Now there's too much dust on the hood and the trunk area. You can't see it here, but the paint, there's a lot of crazing. It looks like the paint got real thick on the inside of the fins, but we'll address that when we have to. The trunk lid is in pretty good shape, except again, it has a lot of paint on it that's crazed. So I don't know if I'll strip that all the way down. Start over. All right, well, that's the update on my 56 Plymouth. The whoever did the body work on both the driver's side lower fender and on that the quarter panel between the door and the rear wheel well, they wailed away at it with a hammer. And I know they did that so they would have some be able to spread and work the body filler. The body filler on the lower fender wasn't that. It was not that that thick. But what had happened was one of the rust spots had popped up, and it actually popped the paint off, but it didn't pop the primer off. So go figure. Now the lower quarter panel between the driver's door and the wheel opening, they wailed away at that. Now it looks like there's a rusted split along that, or an area, and so they just wailed away at it, like countersunken, and it's really low, and that's why the body filler was at least a quarter to, I would say, close to a half-inch thick, because they just beat all the rust in and then, filled it full of body filler. And if the body filler had been, waterproof body filler, it probably would have lasted a little longer. That's my theory anyway. Of course, when you've got rust on the inside of a panel working, it's hard to say. And that was always one of the hard things about when you're fixing rust. How far do you cut around the rust area to make sure you get it all? Now, I'm going to put in a piece of metal in that fender. I've got to look at it a little closer and determine that there's no other rust spots waiting to come through the paint. Now, the doors, I'm going to cut open the door skin and evaluate how much rust is there. Now, the rust holes are small, and so I don't know how extensive the rust is. I will cut a little bit larger section out and then give it a once over. If I don't cut a more out, if it's a very small section, I'm considering just filling it with waterproof body filler. And I know that goes against everything I've ever learned about rust repairs. But if you cut it back to good solid metal and you fill that with waterproof body filler, the chances are, and then if you can seal the rear part of it, which I plan to do, you can pretty much guarantee that repair will last. Now, I just bought a can of Eastwood Rust Encapsulator, and hopefully it does exactly what it says it will. This is the regular kind and not the platinum, matte black. So my initial plan, if I don't have to cut more metal out, I don't want to have to MIG weld of something an inch by an inch, But my plan is if I'm going to use waterproof body filler, the short strand fiberglass reinforced stuff, if I have to use that, I will coat the inside of that door panel. Well, actually the door skin inside from one corner near the bottom all the way across. Now, there's not any rust really apparent in the inside door skin, so I think it's going to be good and solid. But in the corners where there's that rust, I'm going to try to seal that the best I can. Now, I'm really not convinced Rust Encapsulator actually encapsulates it forever, but I think it can slow it down. Anything you do to keep moisture away from rust, especially if you have a rust something that's supposed to encapsulate rust, it's probably a good move. Now, the repairs I need to do on the other side of the car, on the passenger side, are going to be very similar. I've got that front quarter, the forward quarter panel, and then the two spots on the doors. Now, I'm going to treat the surface rust that's around the antenna mounting hole with Ospo. And I've seen a lot of reviews on it, and people test it against other rust inhibitors or converters. And probably the most The alarming thing I've seen is that not everybody understands how you wash OSPO off a panel. And basically, once it's dry, to neutralize it, you have to wet it again with more OSPO and scrub the panel, and then you can use soap and water and wash it off, let it dry. And before priming, you should sand it with something like 80 before you prime it. So, and I don't know where else I might use OSPO, but certainly there on that fender. Now, my plans still are to eventually seal the car with epoxy primer, or epoxy sealer, really. I'm not really looking for epoxy to use it as a primer. I just want to seal the finish that's there. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll keep you posted. Got more to come here in the Shade Tree Garage. See you then.